Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to a live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show. Now, Ruben Amorim is pushing Manchester United to get deals done for both Bryan and Mbeumo and Victor Gyökeres. He had a meeting with the United board, told them to be more ambitious in the summer and get those moves underway. There are suggestions that Victor Gyökeres could be open to a Man United move. The deal is soon as possible. It might not be Victor Gyökeres that's the obstacle, it might be more so finances. Now, Napoli are interested in Lisandro Martinez despite injury. There's interest from Italy in Lisandro Martinez. Could he be off to Italy? Because there's been a few reports about that coming out last night, this morning, but a report has literally dropped just now, and I haven't had time to add it to the slides, about him wanting to stay at Manchester United. So I need to get in and add that to the slides and change the title after the live. But we've got other updates as well coming in on Manchester United looking at physical midfielder, Bryan Mbeumo. Obviously, unless you've been living under a rock, Bryan Mbeumo wants now 300k a week at Man United. It's funny how all the Newcastle journalists seem to know what Bryan Mbeumo has asked Manchester United for. Really funny, really funny. We know it's under 200k a week, but there's going to be loads of lies that he wants 300k a week, 400k a week. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about everything we need to know on Mbeumo. Højlund wants to stay. United are trying to force him out. Casemiro. The Muppeteers, the United Muppeteers on YouTube. Make sure you go check out their channel and show them some love. They are very good when it comes to breaking information. They get a lot of exclusives. James was, pretty accurate with everything he said on Mbeumo. They've obviously given a few updates around Manchester United's news and transfer plans. So I am going to get into that. But if you do enjoy today's video, guys, feel free to go ahead and hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. And let's get into the stories here. Actually, let me get the slide up. I forgot to do an intro slide. So this is the first slide that we're going to get into. And that is in regards to Victor Gyökeres. We've got a few stories on Victor Gyökeres, but I wanted to talk about what the Muppeteers said to begin with, because obviously James has been very accurate with everything he said on Mbeumo, and obviously we've basically got, but we haven't got Mbeumo. We have to do the financial side of that, but we're going to talk about that. £50 million, but that's a good deal. £50 million for Mbeumo. Sources are saying it's going to cost £50 million for Mbeumo. That's a good deal, but let's talk about Gyökeres. United can get Gyökeres if they get funds, is essentially what's the new narrative in the media. The new narrative from more reliable media people is it's not that United are out of the Gyökeres race. It may depend on funds. It may depend on this. It may depend on that. So, during United's executive committee meeting, Amorim told the board to be more ambitious and go for better players. And at the same time, they contacted Gyökeres and Mbeumo. He put a lot of pressure on them. This was said by James of the Muppeteers. He also said, my feeling is that we're in a position where we could get Victor Gyökeres. We need money, no doubt. So he's also saying potentially we can get Victor Gyökeres if we have funds. Victor Gyökeres potentially could be open to that move. There's also other reports saying that, it's not, Victor Gyökeres hasn't turned down United. And that was interesting. Another report had basically said, it was more of an opinion piece, that Victor Gyökeres, if he didn't want the Manchester United move, he would have told them by now. He would have turned them down. He's not turned down Manchester United. He's taking his time. He may prefer one or two clubs over Manchester United, but he has a good relationship with Amorim. Amorim's had contact with him. Amorim is pushing for him. We spoke about in my video last night that Amorim was pushing to get the green light from Victor Gyökeres. Victor Gyökeres has not said no to United. He doesn't turn them down, which suggests that Victor Gyökeres is open to the move. Bruno was open to Al Hilal. He didn't go to Al Hilal because he was also open to staying at Manchester United. Victor Gyökeres is open to the Manchester United move. If he wasn't, he would have said that by now. He wouldn't have had, all of this going on. He might not pick us. He might not choose us. He may prefer to go to Atletico. Arsenal may go back in for him. But we're definitely in a position where it's not that Victor Gyökeres doesn't want to come. He's open to the move, but he's not gone like Mbeumo or Cunha, Man United. That's where I want to go. He's not done what the other players have done. I don't think we're going to get Victor Gyökeres, to be honest, unless we get some luck with sales. I think the only way we do a deal for Victor Gyökeres is if Rashford, Anthony, Sancho, we can get them out quick. I still don't think we're going to get Victor Gyökeres. I think we'll get Cunha, I think we'll get Mbeumo, and I think it will be on sales. I think he could go Atletico Madrid. But he's not rejecting Man United. He's not saying no. He's open to it. He's open to a move to a lot of clubs. He may choose other clubs over United, but there's something there. Now, what I like that the Muppeteers mentioned is that Amorim told the board to be more ambitious and go for Gyökeres and go for Mbeumo. Because we've gone from Delap, Cunha, Dibbling to, okay, Cunha, Gyökeres, Mbeumo. Cunha, Gyökeres, and Mbeumo. My dream window. Cunha, Gyökeres, and Mbeumo is my dream. Cunha, Gyökeres, and Mbeumo, a competent goalkeeper and a good midfielder is my dream window. I still think we need a wing back, but Ahmad can play wing back, I guess, with Mbeumo's coming in. Cunha, Gyökeres, Mbeumo, goalkeeper, competent midfielder. There has been some recent links to Hayden Hackney again, but it's not come from a reliable source. I like Hayden Hackney, but Hayden Hackney's someone I want to come in as a second midfield signing. Like, if we lost Casemiro, I'd like Belieber and Hayden Hackney. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't... Like, I like Hayden Hackney, but I don't think he's the guy that's going to come in on his own and be the guy, but I think he's a good player. We will talk about that later on. But that's, for me, what Manchester United need to do. Do you think United could go for Kim Min-jae? I don't think so. Mbeumo hasn't asked for 250k. It's all the jealous journalists. Yeah. The only journalists saying that Mbeumo has asked for 250k are the Newcastle journalists, because Newcastle wanted Mbeumo. They've lost out to Man United. They're not happy about it because they're in the Champions League and Man United aren't, and they've lost out to Man United again because they lost out to some Cunha. And basically, Newcastle PR briefing their journalists that Mbeumo wanted 250k a week, which we know isn't true. After Mbeumo, it'll be midfielder then striker. I agree. For me, Cunha and Mbeumo, get a centre mid in third, then get a striker, then number 5 get a goalkeeper, and then number 6 get a wing back if you can. Like, is that too much to ask for? Maybe, but that's what we need. Cunha and Mbeumo Gyökeres would be surprisingly good business. That would be like our best window in a very long time. I mean, I thought the window that we got Sancho, Ronaldo, and Varane was an insane window. I was like, this is our best window ever. And then Sancho just was a knobhead. And, Ronaldo and Varane were good, but we didn't get that DM that window. I thought that was a good window at the time. But this, for me, Mbeumo, Cunha, Gyökeres would be the window. That's the window I'd want to see. We're going to talk about Licha. There's news of Licha potentially being sold, but literally a story. The minute I click the live button, there's another story come out on that. And I haven't had time to add it to the slides, but I will get into that because it literally came out as I went live. But there's interest from Licha in Italy, but we don't know if Licha's open to the move. Alex B says those 3 attacking signings should improve our goal issues. Yeah, 100%. We're better defensively on that Amorim. We're not scoring goals, and that will help big time. I don't believe in a Bruno Ugarte double pivot. I have reservations. Yeah, I have reservations about that. I like Ugarte. I'm not convinced that he is the answer. I think he's more of a squad player. He's someone that's good for legs, and I think we shouldn't have spent as much money on him as we did. But I don't get all the Ugarte hate. But I don't know if he's the guy I would want with Bruno in the middle. Believers who I'd want with Bruno in the middle. I don't think it's possible. I think Brighton would want 80 million plus, but Belieber. Mateta's a good backup option. Yeah, apparently Mateta wants to stay at Crystal Palace though, and not go to Man United because they're in the Europa League. I saw that somewhere online. Can't wait to watch Newcastle Sunderland next season. Yeah, I wanted Sunderland to get promoted. You know, those sides that are like too big to not be in the Premier League. Like Sunderland, Newcastle was always a good watch. Like there's certain teams, like as much as I dislike Leeds, it was nice having Leeds in the Premier League and battering them. The best game we've had, in my opinion, post Sir Alex Ferguson was the 5-1 Leeds win. Because we'd come second the season before. We signed Sancho, who we thought was going to be good, but we signed Varane. We'd signed Varane. We've literally just come second the season before. We had high hopes. We'd announced Raphael Varane. And first game of the season, we batter Leeds 5-1. You've got Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes show. That's where we peaked. I actually think we peaked post Sir Alex Ferguson, Leeds 5-1. We get to announce Varane on the same day. We have Pogba. We have Bruno. The vibe is just unreal. And then it's all gone downhill from there. Because we ended up having a crap season. It's all gone downhill from there. And then we ended up, I think, getting Ronaldo. Did we get Ronaldo that summer? I'm pretty sure we got Ronaldo that summer a couple of weeks ago. That was peak. That was my favourite game, 5-1 Leeds. I miss battering Leeds in the Premier League. Good fun. Need major sales, 100%. We need major sales. Kim Min-jae will work wonders in the Prem. Kim is surprisingly physical. Bundesliga doesn't fit him. I think he would do all right at Man United, but I think with the age and inconsistency, I think they're looking elsewhere. I thought better Neves. Well, I said I'd rather us get João Neves than Agate, but it was just never going to happen. I think we needed Agate for legs. The thing with Agate is we needed Agate and Subamende, or Agate and João Neves, not Agate on his own. We needed Agate's legs, but we also needed a midfielder that was good on the ball, and we only got one. You know, Agate's good on the ball in the final third, but not in the build-up third, and that's where we struggle. Yeah, the 5-1 Leeds game. Yeah, Erik ten Hag's first season was good. That was the season after. But when we beat Leeds 5-1, I just thought this is going to be the season, and it wasn't. That was just for me. Pogba, I don't know. Pogba on his day, yeah, but Bruno was way more consistent. Pogba got 4 assists and Bruno got a hat-trick. That was my favourite game. So we're going to talk about Lisandro Martinez and a couple of other stuff coming about. So, Lisandro Martinez is on the defender list for Napoli. Injury hasn't completely ruled him out a move, recovery being monitored by Napoli, and Manchester United stance on loan. So there is a little bit of interest for Lisandro Martinez from Napoli. Now, I believe that Manchester United to sell Martinez would want 30 to 35 million. Despite him being injury prone, he's a good player and he could bring in 30 to 35 million. I like Licha. For the last 5 or 6 games before he got injured, he was very good. He was growing. He was learning the system. I'm a big fan of Martinez, and I think he's very important in build-up. But I also think with his availability issues, I'm open to selling Martinez for £35 million because of his availability issues. You know, he's expected to be back for pre-season, which is a boost there. But I just think, you know, because of availability issues, I think if you did get offer over 30 million, I would do it. I would. I don't know if we would. Like, and I'm one of his biggest fans. I'm one of his biggest fans, but he's just never here. And I know the ACL was more of a freak injury. It was unlucky. He was sort of getting past his previous injury issues. And I think, to be honest, when fully fit, he's probably our best defender. And, you know, if he can come back fit and he can stay fit next season, I think he'll have a good season, to be honest. There is some updates on his injuries latest and on his future as well. But the Mail have just said that Lisandro Martinez is on course to return for pre-season with the hope of making a first-team comeback in September. I mean, September's quite early comeback, but I think he could be back playing September, October. It's going to take him time, but he's getting ready for pre-season. Now, interestingly, this has just dropped this second, just before I went live, that apparently Martinez himself isn't open to the move. You know, Napoli potentially interested. I think United would sell him for the right price. You know, there's clubs in Italy that have been linked to him before, but it's just come out sort of now that Lisandro Martinez has no desire to join Napoli, despite links to the Italian club. He's determined to stay and succeed at Manchester United, even if Champions League clubs come knocking this summer, is what's been said. So despite reports from Italy about interest in Licha, he wants to stay at Manchester United, which is interesting. But I guess if you're coming back from an injury, and you probably want to be in an environment, you know, he does love Manchester United. He is a leader. If he could stay fit, he's a leader for sure. So yeah. Some people saying they don't like Martinez. I like Martinez. I think he's a very good player. I think he's got the mentality. I think he's got the attitude. I just, you know, his availability is frustrating. It's like Luke Shaw, Mason Mount. There's just availability issues there, and that's the struggle. That is the struggle. What goalies are we looking at? I don't really know. Probably Milenkovic-Savic is the only one we've been properly linked to. Lamens a little bit there. Yeah, in terms of goalkeeper, there's not much. I think the thing is, Man United aren't going to act on a goalkeeper until Bayendir or Onana go. We're not going to act on one until that. So that's why there's not much in regards to that. Diogo Costa's a good goalkeeper, but he's going to be out of budget. Leach is always injured, otherwise they keep him. Same. Like a lot of people saying they keep him. I think he would. The thing is, we really need a good ball playing centre back for Amorim's system, and Licha is that. It's just we've got to hope he stays fit. That's the frustration. Like, I do think he's a really good player, but it is just he's so unlucky. It was just really unlucky. If he can come back stronger, that's great. If he's going to be back in September, he's only going to miss maybe the first 5-6 weeks of the season, because I think he'll slowly come back in September as well. But apparently he doesn't want to move, even if Champions League clubs are interested in him, because I do think he loves United. I do think he's got that that mentality to play for United, like Bruno Fernandes. We talk about mentality yesterday. Sancho, freedom, saying he wants out of United, but actually when he gets the opportunity to get out of United, but he has to take a wage cut, he won't do it. Whereas with Bruno, he has the opportunity to get out of United, and he's more within his right to get out of United, and he could have tripled his wages and he stays. Martinez, I think, is one of those guys where he could be offered higher wages, he could be offered Champions League football, but I think he's very much happy at Manchester United. Big up everyone in the chat, 1,300 people watching. Big love if you are enjoying today's live show. Feel free to hit that like button. And of course, you're welcome to subscribe if you're new. We're on 113,000.4k subs, so the channel is doing well. ACL is always a worrying injury. It's not one that all players recover from. It's not one that all players recover from. So, what else are United looking at doing? Manchester United still want a striker, a physical midfielder, reinforcements in goal, and are open to adding another centre-back. It will require them to make significant money back through sales, said Nathan Salt. So, Manchester United, obviously, Mbeumo and Cunha is the two deals we're going to hopefully get done in the coming weeks. Cunha's already done. We also want a striker, a physical midfielder, and a reinforcement in goal. So that's good. For me, if we can get Mbeumo, Gyökeres, Cunha, a good midfielder and a good goalkeeper, I'm happy. Definitely reinforcement at the back would be nice. But if we could tick off those 5 positions, I think I would be very happy. Chelsea getting Mike Magnan. Yeah, I mean, Chelsea getting Mike Magnan is very good business, although he is incredibly injury prone. That's the only thing with him in regards to Mike Magnan. But United are looking at potentially a physical midfielder. Now, we were linked a little bit to Ederson in the past, but he's now, I think, Al Hilal's top target because obviously they can't get Bruno. So we've actually been linked again to Hayden Hackney, which is interesting news coming out. Obviously, I've spoken about Hayden Hackney in the past. Like, I think it's a good player. Like, I've not watched a load of championship games, but I remember watching Middlesbrough Chelsea, Middlesbrough Sunderland, and he was very impressive in the 4 or 5 games that I watched him play, and I've noticed that he was very progressive. So, yeah. One sec, I've just been sent something. Nathan Salt says that Mbeumo could be sold to generate funds. Rashford, Antony, and Sancho are all looking to leave. Same with Garnacho, but Man United may be open to selling Højlund, Nana, and Mbeumo as well to raise funds. It's just come out. I want to see if I can find the Hayden Hackney story that was coming out. There's talk about Barcelona want Rashford. Rashford's willing to take a pay cut, but Barcelona want to do it on loan. In regards to Hayden Hackney, there was a story that came out earlier today in regards to Hayden Hackney to Man United, and I can't find it. Oh, here it is, by Give Me Sport. So it's not the best source of information, but Give Me Sport have said that Manchester United could turn to Hayden Hackney as an alternative if they miss out on Ederson. Now, they're not the most reliable source of information, but again, there's suggestions of Manchester United being Hayden Hackney. He could be the next Coutinho-esque player. You know, we need to look for that. I think we need the thing is, we need, for me, if Casemiro goes, we need 2 midfielders. We need a physical powerhouse midfielder, you know, Baleba. And then I think we need someone that could be more small, like a João Neves, Coutinho-esque player. I think they're the 2 profiles we need, but there's only so much we can do in one window. Would you sell Mbeumo? No. I think because Mbeumo's not had the most brilliant season, I think we're underrating like how good of a talent Mbeumo is. For me, £80 million for Mbeumo, you have to think about it because he hasn't really shown it in Amorim's system. But the Mbeumo we saw last season versus City versus Liverpool in a 4-3-3, like that was Pedri. That was like reminded me of Pedri's first season at Barcelona. Like he was insane. So I feel like we need to remember that. If we can get that first season Mbeumo back, as a player. So I want to talk about Bryan and Mbeumo because his price is around £50 million. Despite now him apparently, according to Newcastle sources, being 65 to 70 million, credible sources around the deal have said it would be more 50 to 55 million. So we got from Sky Sports that contact between United and Brentford has been established, but they haven't begun the formal negotiations yet, but there is contact. But interestingly, James from the Muppeteers, who's been very accurate in his reporting, believes that Manchester United could get Mbeumo done in the range of a £50 to £55 million deal. So not this £65 million deal for Mbeumo nonsense that's going around. 50 to 55 million could get a deal done for Mbeumo to Manchester United. Not this 65 million nonsense. Could be a 50 million deal. And if you can get Mbeumo on a 50 million deal, that is very, very good business from Manchester United. That's a very, very good deal. There is roadworks going on outside. I don't know if you can hear that. So I do apologise if you do hear some weird background noise. We need a midfield box-to-box monster. I think we do. Why sell Maino, Garnacho in the same window? Agree. You got to get rid of Garnacho, not Maino. Is Malacia injured or something? Man United just want to get rid of him. If Bruno's staying with these attacking signings, surely he's going to play 8. He definitely is. So I think we've got to look at someone that's going to partner Bruno well in the 8. And I'd still go all out for Blaber. I would still go all out for Blaber. I don't think we will get him, but that's who I'd go for. This good comment. Also, don't overlook Amorim's history of using youth. If they get front line and can't afford much else, yeah, 100%. I mean, look at Cheeto. He's already looking better than Hoyland. So, he's using Aiden Heaven already. Like, I honestly think that Amorim sees Aiden Heaven as a first team player now. Not like Cheeto's still seen as a youth player, but I honestly believe like he ranked Aiden Heaven higher than Lindelof. I think had Aiden Heaven not got injured, he could have started over Shaw in the Europa League final. I think Amorim really sees Aiden Heaven as a first team player. A guy isn't spectacular on the eye. That's why people don't rate him as he deserves, like they used to with Carrick. Carrick was definitely better on the ball, but I think a guy does a lot of good work that goes under the radar, and because he gives the ball, like he gets like. A guy isn't, I'm convinced, but a guy is like, why is he getting this level of hate? I stuck up for him on Twitter the other day. I said, a guy may not be complete, but why is he getting the level of hate that he gets? I don't get it. Like, he's had really good games versus Liverpool, versus Arsenal. He has limitations, but he doesn't deserve the hate he gets. Our deluded fans are just write off any young player after one bad season, even if they had a great debut season. Exactly. I honestly think if anyone is writing off Maino, he's 19. You are crazy. I think Maino, if he was at Barcelona, any other club, the PR he'd get, I think we'd all be saying, oh, we need a player like Maino. Like, yes, he hasn't found his place in Amorim's system, but his debut season, the big games, the FA Cup final, I think a good pre-season with him back in shape, learning the system. I think there's something there. Now, Maino would benefit more from playing in a 4-3-3, and that's the question. But for me, I really believe in Maino. Kone will be in our midfield next season, says Josh. Apparently, he's going out on loan to Switzerland, to the other club Ineos own. Apparently, he's going out on loan to Switzerland. But look, Kone was our best midfielder in the postseason tour, wasn't he? Massive fan of what I saw from Kone in the postseason tour. Heaven looks scary for his age. I have to say, Vival, with their Heaven and Kone recruitment, I am a big fan of the Vival recruitment there. Buying Heaven for £1.5 million. Look, it might be one of those where he's injury prone and we sell him for 20 million in a few years, but there's no doubt in my mind we're going to make good profit on this guy, and there's no doubt in my mind that this guy could be the long-term guy for Amorim's system. This could, and this might sound crazy because he's only played a handful of games, but this could be like our best signing post Sir Alex. Like, we potentially could have an elite level centre back, an £80 million centre back that we've got off a rival for 1.5 million, which is scary to think. A guy is scapegoated because it was acceptable to dealt with Garnacho. We do have this problem of scapegoating one or two players. I think we just need to look at it and think. Carrick was underrated. Yeah, Carrick was a lot better than Nagati on the ball. I wouldn't completely compare him to Carrick. No. If we sell Maino, we're crazy. Dreams out of academy players will get destroyed. I always say when Man United are on its floor, it's always the academy players that have picked us up. Last season, Garnacho and Maino picked us up in the FA Cup final. Rashford has picked us up seasons before. McTominay has picked us off seasons before. I always say when things go wrong, you can always rely on the academy players to pick us up. So that's why I don't like the idea of selling all the academy players. Do you think Casemiro will go? Potentially, because of his wages that are open. They're open to getting rid of Casemiro because of his wages. Sekou Kone will play. I like Sekou Kone, but I think he's going to Lisandro on loan. But let's talk about actually let's get into the Mbeumo. Let's finish the Mbeumo news, but I want to talk about some Casemiro stories. So Ben Jacobs also said that United are now in talks with Brentford for Bryan and Mbeumo, and they seek a fee over 50 million, but United believe a lower price is possible given Mbeumo's desire to move. So there's a belief inside Manchester United that we can get a £50 million deal, a £50 million deal for Mbeumo, which I think is a really good deal, a really good business. I'm just checking if there's any news coming out. Bear with me. No, okay, it's not true. I saw someone put some news in the chat, and I was just checking if it was true or not. But £50 million for Mbeumo, that is good business. That is really good business. And I think for me, it is get Cunha done, get Mbeumo over the line. Look at that midfielder, look at that striker, try and offload and change the goalkeepers, bish, bash, bosh. If you can get a wing back, you can, but we've got to be realistic. It is about selling. We need to get 50 million for Garnacho. We need to sell Rashford. We need to sell Anthony. We need to get Sancho out the door. But look, if someone offered 80 million for Maino, you consider it. But I'm very much against selling almost all the academy players that we have. PSG are close to signing Franco Mastantuono. I mean, look, we finished 15th. They won the Champions League. Of course, they were probably going to beat us to him as well. Hayden Hackney is top for progressive passes. Yes, this is what I want to show you about Hayden Hackney. So, obviously, Give Me Sport have linked us to Hayden Hackney, who is playing in the Championship. But I said that what we need is progressive passes. And if you look at progressive passes here, top 10 by progressive passes, 440. In terms of a progressive passer, and I know it's the Championship, and I know there's other Championship players in this list, but I do think, like someone that can progress the ball, someone that can resist the press. He's young, he's homegrown. And one thing I've noticed is that we are going to lack homegrown players. If you sell Garnacho and Rashford and this player and that player, we're going to need English players. We're going to need homegrown players because I think you need a certain amount in the squad as well. So that's another area where Hayden Hackney will tick. But look, we're potentially looking at him as an alternative to Edison. And I think it's a risk because it's the Championship. But yeah, he's closer to Carrick than Nagate. He is. He works with Carrick at Middlesbrough, He, for me, would probably be the midfielder that I'd look at. Yeah, Joan Garcia has gone to Barcelona, despite links to him. Hayden Hackney is probably the midfielder I would look at, realistically. Belavor's the dream. But I do think... I think profile-wise, Hayden Hackney makes a lot of sense. Would you sell Licha? I'm not the biggest fan of selling Licha, but if you could get over 30 million for Licha, then I would consider it. I don't think Licha wants to move, but there's interest from Napoli. Because of his injury record, if you can get over 30 million, you have to consider it. Like, I think if he's fit, he's a 50, 60 million pound centre-back, but he's never fit. It's like Luke Shaw. It's like, I know it's not his fault, and I really like Licha, and if he's fit, we need him. But I'd be open to selling him for the right price. Look, if Leach is fit, he gets in our best starting 11. And he's important. And he's probably like my second or third favourite United player in terms of, I think, character. But I just think, yeah, with the injuries, it's one to look at, Liverpool had Thiago. Thiago was fantastic, but he was always injured, Neymar's always injured. Sometimes availability is the best ability. Alice, is Gyökeres coming? I don't know. Gyökeres is open to the move, but Gyökeres is open to moving to 6 or 7 clubs. It might be a case of who's really going to push for him, who's going to offer him this and when. It could depend on many things. Man City have signed Reinders, which is an unbelievable deal. I'm going to do a second channel video on that. Reinders is a fantastic deal. In terms of other news coming in, Alex Crook did say that Man United have made official contact with Brentford for Mbeumo. It was also said that United have made it clear to Højlund by the Muppeteers that if there's an offer on the table, he should take it and leave. We know from many sources that Inter are looking at Højlund. And then the United Muppeteers did also mention that if United are open to selling Casemiro if they can, because he's not in the long-term plans, in terms of other news stories coming in and around Manchester United. So there's quite a lot of news that's actually come out today that we sort of covered. I'm going to wait to see if any more comes out on the likes of Hayden Hackney and that. But with Lisandro Martinez, it came out just as I started my live stream that while Napoli and Italian clubs are interested in him, he doesn't seem open to moving. So I don't think that Martinez is going to go anywhere, but it could be one to watch. Anyway, thank you people, by the way, for tuning into today's show, covering all the news. and all of that. I mean, June is always crazy, especially because I think the transfer window is open right now in these first 2 weeks of June. I feel like it's just the transfer news. There's a lot of it. It's pretty crazy at the moment. There's a lot to cover. So there's going to be 2 to 3 pieces of content a day throughout this transfer window. So there's so much to cover. There'll be short 10-minute videos and there'll be, 30-minute long live streams. But yeah, big up to everybody for tuning into today's show. I will be back around 5 o'clock unless some breaking news comes out before. See you next time. Bye.